Life in the trenches during the First World War was defined by repetition, endurance, and constant exposure to danger. By 1916, trench systems on the Western Front had become semi-permanent environments where soldiers lived for weeks or months at a time. Daily existence was shaped not by decisive battles, but by routine labor, prolonged waiting, and a continuous effort to survive under extreme conditions. Each day began and ended with periods of heightened alert. Dawn and dusk were considered the most dangerous moments, as limited visibility increased the likelihood of enemy attacks. During these times, soldiers were required to stand on the fire step, rifles loaded and bayonets fixed, scanning the horizon for signs of movement. This practice, repeated every morning and evening, was physically exhausting and psychologically draining. Between these alert periods, soldiers carried out a range of duties essential to maintaining trench defenses. Trench maintenance was constant. Walls frequently collapsed due to rain, shell fire, or erosion, requiring immediate repair. Sandbags had to be replaced, wooden supports reinforced, and drainage channels cleared of mud. Failure to maintain trenches could result in flooding or collapse, placing entire units at risk. Nighttime brought its own dangers. Much of the work required to repair barbed wire or improve defensive positions had to be done after dark to avoid enemy observation. Soldiers moved cautiously into no man's land, often under fire from enemy snipers or artillery. These tasks were among the most feared duties, as even small movements could reveal a soldier's position. Supplying the trenches was a constant challenge. Food, ammunition, water, and medical supplies had to be transported through narrow communication trenches under difficult conditions. These passageways were often congested and slippery, making movement slow and hazardous. Carrying heavy loads over long distances further exhausted soldiers already weakened by poor nutrition and lack of rest. Rations were basic and frequently insufficient. Meals typically consisted of bread, canned meat, soup, and tea. Fresh food was rare, and delays in supply lines often meant rations arrived cold or spoiled. Soldiers learned to eat quickly whenever food became available, knowing that interruptions were common and future meals uncertain. Hunger was a persistent problem, contributing to fatigue and reduced resistance to illness. Water quality was another serious concern. Clean drinking water was limited, increasing the risk of gastrointestinal diseases. Cooking and food preparation took place in makeshift conditions, often under threat of shell fire. These limitations made proper nutrition nearly impossible, further weakening soldiers over time. Sleep offered little relief. Soldiers slept in dugouts carved into trench walls or in underground shelters reinforced with timber and sandbags. These spaces were cramped, dark, and damp, with poor ventilation. The constant presence of moisture and lack of sunlight contributed to respiratory problems and general physical decline. Shell fire and alarms frequently interrupted rest, preventing sustained sleep. Hygiene in the trenches was extremely poor. Opportunities to wash were rare, and changes of clothing infrequent. Soldiers often wore the same uniforms for extended periods, allowing dirt and sweat to accumulate. Lice infestations were nearly universal. These parasites caused constant itching and spread diseases such as trench fever, which led to recurring fevers, severe pain, and prolonged weakness. Rats were a constant presence. Attracted by food waste and unburied bodies, they flourish in the trench environment. Rats move freely through living areas, gnawing on equipment and personal belongings. Their presence contributed to anxiety and disgust, reinforcing the sense that the trenches were environments hostile to human life. Reports of rats feeding on wounded or dead soldiers intensified the psychological strain. Medical conditions in the trenches were severe. Even minor wounds could become infected due to unsanitary conditions. Blisters, cuts, and abrasions often developed into serious infections. Cold, damp conditions weakened immune systems, making soldiers vulnerable to illness. Trench foot remained a widespread problem, incapacitating large numbers of troops and reducing overall combat effectiveness. Despite these hardships, strict discipline governed daily life. Military hierarchy structured every activity, from work assignments to rest periods. Orders were expected to be obeyed without hesitation. Failure to comply could result in punishment, including confinement or court-martial. This rigid system was considered essential to maintaining order and cohesion under extreme stress. Psychological strain was an ever-present reality. Long periods of inactivity were punctuated by sudden violence, creating a constant state of tension. Soldiers lived with the knowledge that death could arrive without warning. Artillery bombardments, in particular, contributed to feelings of helplessness, as soldiers had little control over their environment. To cope with these conditions, soldiers relied heavily on camaraderie. Shared hardship fostered strong bonds within units. Humor, storytelling, and informal rituals provided brief moments of relief. Letters from home were treasured, offering emotional connection to a world beyond the trenches and reinforcing a sense of personal identity. However, these connections also brought pain. News of deaths among friends and family was common, and soldiers were acutely aware that many bonds formed in the trenches would be short-lived. The constant loss of comrades contributed to emotional exhaustion and detachment. The monotony of trench life was as damaging as its dangers. Days often passed without significant events, creating a sense of time suspended between anticipation and fear. This stagnation eroded morale and contributed to feelings of isolation and despair. By 1916, daily life in the trenches had become one of the defining experiences of the First World War. It reshaped soldiers' understanding of endurance, duty, and survival. The routines of trench life revealed the true nature of industrialized warfare, where victory was measured not only in territory gained, but in the capacity of individuals to endure prolonged suffering. Life in the trenches was not marked by heroic charges or decisive moments, but by the persistent struggle to survive another day. It was an existence defined by routine, deprivation, and uncertainty, reflecting profound human cost of modern warfare.